Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today to take a look at the latest game mode to enter the Halo 5 Guardians beta, and that is Breakout. Breakout is essentially, at its core, a 4v4 last man standing game mode, but in the end of the day, it is so much more, and a lot of that comes down to elements like the map design, as well as the way that 343 actually went about designing the game mode. They actually went out and played speedball, which is a type of paintball for those of you who may or may not know. I'm going to have a video linked in the description below. It's just going to be a random NPPL video showcasing what speedball is, because I think it's important that you go watch that so you can see the connections that I'm going to make to speedball, from speedball to Halo 5's Breakout game mode. Now, one of the biggest elements of Breakout is that even more so, if not as much as the 4v4 Slayer Arena mode that we now have in Halo 5, this is a mode all about teamwork. I mean, you only have one life, so you can't really afford to be dying left and right, and the decisions that your team makes from the start of the game to the end of the game is going to impact your success. Every single second that you are on the battlefield making decisions matters to the overall outcome of the game. More than it does in just about any other game mode I've ever played in Halo, and I think that's what makes Breakout really special for me, on top of the direct connections that I personally can make to the game to speedball. As in my youth, myself, my brother, and a friend all actually played 3v3 speedball competitively at our local paintball field before it got shut down, and we played a lot. It was probably 2 to 3 years of us playing pretty solid. We went to tournaments, we won tournaments, we lost tournaments, and it was just pretty much everything that we ate, breathed, and thought about for a good 2 to 3 years of our life. So that to me, sort of created a bond between myself, my brother, and my good friend, probably tighter than we already had. The amount of communication and sort of extra sensory perception that you have to have with one another when you play speedball is insanely high, and if you don't have it when you start playing, I can guarantee you that if you play and take it seriously, you will develop that. And that's the same way I feel about Breakout. Number one, playing with a team, completely different experience. And that is why earlier in the day I uploaded that gameplay without any commentary, because I just wanted you guys to see that and take that in. It's funny because I actually had some people, I could get gameplay anywhere, but I really just wanted people to watch and absorb it before I uploaded this commentary, and sort of so you can make this direct comparison between the footage you saw there and the footage you're seeing here. Now, the footage you saw earlier today was actually, it was a random game. There was randoms in the game and on my team, but there was communication coming from both sides. In the lobby, my team was talking communication. We started, having a plan set up. I was giving callouts to my team. They were listening. They were calling out. And the same thing went for the other team. It was the first time that I ever got into a random match in Xbox Live, on any game for that matter, where both teams were actually communicating as a group full of randoms. It was pretty awesome, but you saw how close that match was, and how at the end of the day there wasn't really any individual on either team that had an exceptionally high KD. There was just a lot of close calls, a lot of decision making, and a lot of callouts going on to make sure that we could be as successful as possible. And it led to this really tight game, where we lost by 1 round only. That's another great thing about Breakout, is the way that it is round-based. You have a chance to make some ridiculous comebacks, and you also have the chance to have a game that lasts, 3 to 4 minutes. At the same time, you can have a game that lasts anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes, depending on how many rounds you actually go through. I should also mention that the intro, every time you jump into a round, is probably the coolest intro I've ever seen in a first-person shooter. But let's talk a little bit more about the direct comparisons that I want to make to Speedball, to Breakout, and why they sort of tie together, and why these elements are what make Breakout so special, or something, why they make it such a game mode that I enjoy so much. Now, the first 15 seconds of a Speedball match are immensely important. What you do on the break or the breakout, fittingly enough with the name of this game mode, is integral to the rest of the match. Now, in paintball, one of the key elements on the field is called the snake. The snake is a long, low object on the map that pretty much can only be controlled by one team at a time, for the most part. Now, if your team can manage to rush the snake off the break of a match, you are going to have excellent field control. A lot of paintball comes down to making aggressive maneuvers and then providing lots of heavy suppressive fire on, numerous other targets on the field so your team can move forward or make some sort of a decision. If you get one player to the snake, usually has to be the most agile and capable player on your team and the quickest, you're going to have exceptional field control. The same thing goes with Breakout. There are many key locations on the map, often ledges that are able to wrap around certain walls and provide cover from both sides of the map, that can be really important locations for your team to take as quickly as possible. There are often times where I've decided I'm just going to rush mid because I know I have control here. And a lot of that also has to do with the weapon pickups on the map. Each team does have a BR. That means that one person on your team is going to be considered sort of the long-range support marksman. It's his primary goal, in my opinion, to, number one, deal out as much damage wherever he can, whenever he can, and at the same time to provide, you know, constant intel and feedback to his team as someone who is taking up the high position on the map. At the same time, there's an assault rifle on the map for both sides, and there's also usually 1 or 2 spawn locations for the grenades in the center of the map that the teams will inevitably be battling over once people start to understand the maps a little bit more. It's these small elements that make Breakout so special, and also where they make these direct tie-ins, you know, to Speedball. And at the end of the day, it's why it's one of the most fun game modes I've ever played in a Halo. Normally, in my opinion, these type of game modes, I do not care for them. The sort of no respawn modes when it comes to playing with randoms. Playing with team, yes, that's great, but even then, they can become a little bit too serious and boring. For example, the classic Counter-Strike mode, you know, the sort of plant the bomb and defuse. It's a great game mode and all, but when you're trying to, you know, have just a good time and relax with some friends, I find it to be a little bit too serious. There's way too much downtime. You're sort of just sitting around. Having these really short, fast rounds means that you're always in the game. You're always thinking about what you did wrong, where you can improve for the next round, and it just means that you're constantly playing. There's very little downtime, and I like that about this game mode because it still preserves that last man standing feel, which I think is important to this game mode. And I think it's something that, it gives you this sort of adrenaline rush when you play a game mode like this that team deathmatch never can. Knowing that you can respawn pretty much whenever you want and as many times as you want, and then suddenly the game is over, it's just not the same feeling as knowing that, hey, last man standing, this is it, it's you, 1 versus 4. On top of pulling off some crazy, sort of clutch finish where you wipe out the entire enemy team solo with a BR, it doesn't get better than that. So out of all the game modes that I've ever seen come to Halo, we haven't seen too many new modes over the year. There's been, some of the stuff they mess around with in Reach and some of the stuff in 4, but Breakout has to be the freshest and the most exciting mode that I think is going to be coming to Halo ever, and I'm really glad it's in Guardians. I think it helps cement further my belief in 343 and the fact that they're genuinely trying to do something new, but at the same time recognizing the elements in the Halo formula that always made the game so enjoyable to play. If you guys haven't checked out that gameplay, go watch it, make the comparison to this video, sort of get an idea for what I'm talking about when I say, hey, look at this. This is all randoms, no communication, and this is what happens when you have communication. Because both the match you're seeing here, no communication at all. No one was on the mic, I couldn't get a hold of anybody, the other team didn't seem to be on the mic, and there was a lot of one-sided battles back and forth. When this game is being played with two teams talking it up back and forth, it's going to be probably some of the best stuff you watched. And when I think about watching esports and watching Halo, I love Slayer, don't get me wrong. Team Slayer, watching a team like Evil Geniuses go at it with, with Optic Gaming or something like that, always a great time. But when I think of esports, this to me is like the definitive esports mode. I cannot wait to watch, two great, veteran Halo teams go at it in Breakout. I think that's going to be the most insane thing ever, and this is my kind of Super Bowl. I've always loved esports. I've always loved watching the StarCraft 2 championships. If this shows up, at the big MLG playoffs for Halo, and this is like one of the game modes they play instead of Slayer, I will be stoked. I will order pizza. There will be popcorn and drinks, and I will watch this from the beginning to the end. Breakout is live right now on the Halo 5 beta. If you're in the beta and you haven't checked it out in a couple days, hop on there. There's also some new Slayer maps. Check all this stuff out. Let me know what you personally think about Breakout. I'm also going to be looking, I saw a couple of you guys already send me your gamer tags. I'm looking for some people to play in the beta with. This is kind of going to be a hard thing. I know a lot of you guys, I've already gotten a message, people who want to play. Those people who already sent a message, I'll be contacting you guys to see what you sort of, your free time is. I don't spend too much time playing the game every day, but I'd love to get a couple matches in with some people. So, my gamer tag, it's in the description below. Send me a message. If you're on the East Coast, if you're on during the afternoon hours, anytime sort of from, 7 p.m. to midnight EST, throw me a message. Let's see if we can get some games together. I'd love to get some Breakout going with an actual team that is communicating. And as always, if you have any other questions for me about Breakout or about the beta, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.
Last man standing, head to head. extinguisher. You